to UK Thrashers, the home of Moshing the Roof On. In this episode, we catch up with Northern Irish Thrashers Acid Age. The first track tonight comes from their last album, Like a Runaway Combine Harvester in a Field of Crippled Rabbits. This is Shotgun in Your Mouth.
Like a shotgun in your mouth. No more questions, no more tears. Gone to the night, bleeding red to the swing, and a pill on your butt, now you make me. Gonna turn to a partner, so in turn kill away from talent, will never learn. This I mentioned, run for the door. Gonna back up, chances are no more. Like a shotgun in your mouth. No more questions, no more tears.
Keeping things Belfast, this is Leaders of the Lie from Mortal Backlash.
least you tried. Your leaders of the light. Practice the words you preach. That's how you leech off this fucked up generation heading our own direction. New words of fashion. Paths of like religious places searching for new scholars while we mad out. Shredded deep the truthful and contagious. You enrage us. This injustice still comes up, but yet we thrive.
To hear a track from the new generation of Belfast Thrashers. Okay, next up is our interview with this week's guest. Say hello to Acid Age. Okay, welcome back to UK Thrashers radio show. This week in the studio, we're welcomed by warrjazz Acid Age. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hey, man. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to have you all here. Do you want to go around and introduce yourselves and kind of what you do in the band?
My name's Jude. I play guitar and I quote-unquote sing.
I'm Jake. I'm responsible for the electric bass.
The electric bass?
Yeah.
The 5-string electric bass.
I'm Aaron. I'm the drummer.
You guys have been around on the scene for a fair while now. Who wants to give the superhero backstory? How do you guys all get together and decide to start making music?
I suppose I'll do it. Yeah.
Is it your fault?
Yeah, it's mostly my fault, but I can't take full responsibility, because it doesn't work without Dumb and Dumber on the other lines too. But yeah, it's some help. But basically, it started out. I was living in my dad's house at the time. This is 2012, 2013, and I just started writing demos, I suppose, and it was totally going to be like a Toxic Holocaust one-man band type thing. But about a month or two later, Jake had joined, and we had a drummer. And fast forward a couple of years, we've had a few lineups, like a lot of bands, and now we have Aaron, and we've got a really solid, stable lineup. So it's pretty much just started out as a solo project and just grew into something much uglier,
So you said you kind of started off back then thinking of it, so being a one-man assault kind of. What was your kind of gateway into metal for all of you? Where did you come at it from?
You start with that one, Aaron.
my gateway into metal.
Yeah.
You mean like where I first heard it and everything?
Yeah, what kind of, you were listening one night to Top of the Pops. I'm probably showing my age now, but, and then suddenly you decided that you wanted to be a metal drummer rather than, I don't know, playing Duran Duran or something. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it goes pretty far back into my childhood. Like, I mean, my dad's big into metal and my mum to a lesser degree as well. So it was always kind of around the house. I was hearing bands like Motorhead and things like that, and Slayer and stuff. And I always quite enjoyed it. The first band for me that I really, really kind of fell in love with music was AC/DC. And I just distinctly remember being in the car, being picked up by my dad from primary school, and Highway to Hell being on. And it was just this, like, you know, fucking light bulb moment, like, just glorious to hear, you know. And that was what got me into, from just kind of enjoying it around the house to actually being into it properly, if you know what I mean, like wanting to seek it out and everything. And the gigs came pretty early. I saw Motorhead. That was my first one when I was like 7 or something like that, luckily.
Oh,
and,
really young then?
Yeah, that was, I was in fucking P4 in primary school, and I was a little bit too young to actually properly appreciate it. I only really knew kind of Ace of Spades and stuff, but still an amazing experience, man, you know. And time went on. Kind of dabbled a wee bit in guitar later on. Didn't really get anywhere with it. Then I thought, right, but that was an acoustic guitar. Then it's like, right, if I get a electric guitar, I'll be into it. Wasn't really into it. If I get a bass guitar, I'll be into it. Didn't really get into it. Then finally,
it still sounds shit if you can't play it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like finally, Guitar Hero brought drums into the game, and I got the Guitar Hero drums, and realized I could kind of play basic beats. I'm not even kidding about that, seriously, man. And
but it's worth pointing out, I think, as well. Your dad was a drummer for years in bands as well. Wasn't he?
Okay, so it's in the genes a little bit as well.
Yeah, it just didn't come out naturally. It took a bit of, I wasn't a natural rhythm kind of guy. And I did have I remember he had an electric drum kit in the garage for a while that he would let me go on, but I didn't really get the concept of, you know, playing rhythm and everything. It was just a case of just hitting shit, and so it took a bit longer, and then eventually, just got into it. Got my first electronic kit myself, which I still have, and just did that for a while, and then Acid Age, their previous drummer, Luke Culture, left, and got a message from Jude and saying if I'd like to try out, and that was that basically, and the rest is history.
So had you done other bands before, Aaron?
No, this was my first band.
Okay.
Ever. Yeah.
Cool.
And this album's actually my first album as well.
Oh wow! So it's a really kind of it's kind of a bit of a big deal for you at the moment. Then you kind of pop your album virginity.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah, and it's what a fucking difficult album to pop it with. But it's been pretty overwhelming. You know, it really.
Do you want to go for it while he's having his technical difficulties?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So yeah, I was sort of the same as Aaron. I got into music through AC/DC as well. Just, you know, being a kid, and AC/DC I think are a fantastic gateway band because they're just riff and beat. That's it. You know, so it really is a great bit. Like my kids love AC/DC as well, you know, so there must be something to it, you know. But, you know, as you get a bit older and your friends start showing you bands and, you know, you start finding more stuff, then I was getting into kind of all the entry stuff, you know, so there's like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Thin Lizzy and Stephen ZZ Top and sort of different entry level bands, I would call them, but like not to undervalue their relevance or anything. You know, what could be more relevant than being an entry band?
Yeah.
But I eventually found the first Van Halen album, and that's what made me want to. I'd been tinkering with guitar, but when I heard the first Van Halen album, I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, you know, and that was sort of like opening me up to the concept of, you know, solos and maybe writing riffs that weren't just kind of chordy based and stuff, you know, just trying to replicate Eddie's tone. And, you know, I done the whole Eddie Van Halen thing as well whenever I was a teenager, of like butchering guitars and ripping, you know, pickups out of the body and changing things and spraying guitars, like, you know. That's it. You know, I butchered some lovely guitars. Actually, I butchered for all the guitar nerds out there, I had a 2007 limited edition Fender Strat that my dad bought me for my birthday. And I butchered the fucking thing, and my father has still not forgiven me for it.
So how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking? Because I was kind of you're not kids, as you say. You've got kids yourself, Jude.
Yeah, I'm 28.
I'm 24.
Can you hear me now?
I still feel it. Fuck,
Right.
What age are you?
Fuck. Let's see now. 26.
Okay, so you kind of you're not babies, but you're not old men yet either. Apart from Jude.
That comes with my marriage.
Tell me about it. That's 10 years out the gate.
I'm pretty sure I'm stealing this here, but I feel like I'm 18 with 8 years of experience.
just that. I think I'm 18 with 30 odd years of experience, so I'm kind of, and I'll stick working on that. So Jake, you seem to have managed to get comms again. What's your kind of entry into metal and kind of picking up the bass, all 5 strings of it?
Yeah. See, to be honest, I think my earliest memory of like actually hearing any form of metal would have been, I'd say, when I was about 7 or 8, and it was Tony Hawk games on the PS2, like just the soundtrack to those games, and it's kind of the rest of it's history from there, to be honest. Just going through the music section and the credits and the games and discovering all these bands. So from there, again, it was sort of like, your entry level sort of stuff where, it's Iron Maiden, Priest, Kiss, stuff like that. A bit of Metallica.
There was a load of like pop punk stuff in there, if I remember. It was all kind of, there was, I can't remember any bands off the top of my head now, but there was loads of kind of like skater punk bands all in those Tony Hawk games. Like not Offspring, but those sort of kind of bands.
Leeway.
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah, a couple of them. But yeah, it was a good mix. Yeah.
So kind of, when you came out as metalers, what was that like? Within kind of Northern Ireland at the time, was the scene quite good? With a lot of metalheads around, or is it kind of was it pretty underground again at the time?
It went through peaks and valleys, I suppose, like anything else. We actually had me and Jake live in Cookstown, and Aaron lives in Bangor, so there's maybe about an hour and 10, 15 minutes between us. Cookstown always had metalers. It was always a really, really good, but it's strange because it's the kind of like small country town where I suppose a lot of people would maybe move to when they plan to, say, retire or have kids, start a family kind of thing. But there's always metalers around. I always had friends that I could talk to about metal, and yet I suppose you would say it's a very conservative town as well, so it's funny, there's plenty of metalers, but you still get the odd look when you're walking up the town,
I think Bangor's kind of like that in some ways as well. And I think actually in the last few years, with both the towns have kind of grown a bit of a metal thing, haven't they?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It definitely has.
Yeah, like that was two of our first gigs back as this free piece were in Bangor and Cookstown, and they were both really great, and they were both kind of things starting up, new kind of metal nights starting up, which is awesome to see.
So back when you started, who were the local bands that you guys were kind of looking up to? Was it not really that much of a local scene? Like, was it covers bands and all that sort of stuff, or was there some originals kicking around?
There was a couple of local bands I saw in my early teens, but for thrash metal, two of the ones that stick out to me were Gamma Bomb, were one of the probably the first thrash band I saw, and another one was called Visceral Attack. I don't know if you've heard them.
Yeah.
They had a release out called V for Visceral, and then one after it called Quick and Severe, and those two releases were just constantly on in my house. Like, I still love them, So Visceral Attack would have been like a big influence on me. They need to wise the fuck up with all this university bollocks and get back together.
Yeah, stop all this growing up. It won't catch on. Yeah.
I think they've all got PhDs and shit now, but fair play to them, but they should be in visceral attack, I'd like a bit of Dr. Thrash,
Hey, you never know. All these bands come back eventually. They can't keep away for that long.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
So what about kind of I say overseas, I don't mean, what I mean, but what about kind of mainland UK bands and kind of bigger bands from around the world? Were you getting quite a good kind of throughput into kind of into Northern Ireland at the time, or was it kind of a little bit hit and miss?
It could be hit and miss. You'll notice a lot of the times whenever bigger bands are announcing tour dates, if they hit the UK, it's England and Scotland. Wales and Ireland always kind of struggles a wee bit more. And funny, usually we'd have to travel down to Dublin to get, like a big tour package or something. But lately, just before coronavirus, it was getting much, much better.
Yeah.
I would say.
And what about the local scene itself? Now, obviously, you mentioned the Gamma Bomb boys are kind of still going and just did a new album. So there's Scimitar, there's you guys. Who else is kind of, who are the bands we probably haven't heard of yet who are kind of niggling away at the bottom of the UK scene, the Northern Irish scene?
There's a new young thrash band from Belfast I'd like to put forward called Mortal Backlash.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they have a new EP out called Backlash of Thrash, came out last year. But they're showing serious promise. And funny enough, it was nearly like deja vu, because I was watching them promoting it and all, and I remembered us kind of being their age and doing Enter the Zomborg and stuff, It was class to see. So I'm really rooting for them. And once this lifts, I definitely want to get some gigs going with them boys,
Any more?
Well, Aaron, you should out some.
Let's see.
I'm having a bit of a mind on the topic.
Oh, there's Scimitar from Belfast as well. They've been going for quite some time. I think they've actually been going longer than we have. I think they're maybe a couple of years older than us.
Yeah, they're going from about 2011.
Yeah, but they've really grown over the past few years, become really tight unit. It's kind of like, I suppose, kind of like Sodom worship is what it reminds me of. It's,
yeah, it's definitely on that. It's that blackened side, isn't it?
A lot very
like
evil,
Yeah, it's like no bullshit, no thrills, just, dark thrash, basically.
Yeah.
But they have a wee bit of an American thrash sound in some songs too, so I can hear kind of like darker American bands in their sound, like Rigor Mortis and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Especially on Ryan's drums, he's a terrific drummer.
We hint a Dark Angel.
So what have we ticked off? We hinted Dark Angels, right?
Yeah.
So we've got like Mortal Backlash, we've Scimitar, we've touched on Gamma Bomb and Visceral Attack. There was
some great ones down south as well.
Yeah. Down south definitely has more thrash, quote unquote thrash bands. One of my favourite ones would be Crossfire.
Yeah.
And Psychosis is kind of a band that's been blowing up the last few years as well, and they're brilliant. Especially live, they're an absolute force. Saint Slaughter is another good one. So yeah, there's plenty. We're pretty spoiled for choice.
And what about, obviously, I know, obviously since you were playing gigs last, Brexit and all that other bullshit's hit as well, before that was kind of going backwards and forwards, going south of the border and the guys coming north. Was that all nice and easy? Was it kind of, there wasn't any issues with kind of moving around and just playing where you wanted to get a gig?
To be honest, even before lockdowns and Brexit, it was always a bit of a ball ache, I think. But just toll bridges and stuff, But that being said, it's got far worse.
That being said, the last time we went, it would have been easy if the car hadn't broke down.
Burst in the flames.
I think I read about this. Was this, who were you supporting then? Was that when you were out with
Acid Rain?
Acid Rain, yeah.
Yeah,
because
it was Acid Rain and Acid Rain and another thrash band from Dublin called Animator. They're a brilliant band as well.
Yeah.
And then the Belfast.
That's right, because that was the.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was the couple of gigs they played off the Age of Entitlement tour, because they were in Scarborough and then they did Scotland and came across to you, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We were supposed to do both dates with them, but we ended up just doing the Belfast one because of the car trouble.
That was...
And then sat on the motorway.
I got towed on the motorway by this fucking lunatic Elvis conspiracy theorist.
He was telling us all. He was like, "See, he's playing a band, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. See if you've got £100. Put a bet on that Elvis is still alive. It's coming out soon, and all this."
Yeah. This is why we've already accepted we're not getting to the gig. We're having to pay this guy. This guy is driving like a lunatic, probably going to kill us. It was
So did you make it at all, or did you just turn around in the end?
Well, by the time we were dropped off, sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
So we got dumped off at some like corner with all the gear, and basically I had to stand there. I ran to the off license, got some beers, and thank fuck Jake's dad gave us a lift home, or else that would have been absolute. So we didn't actually make it to Dublin. We made it just outside Dublin.
Yeah, we were 30 miles away. We nearly made it.
Oh, it was agonizing because we thought we were going to make it, then we didn't, then we thought we were. It was all those back and forth sort of, we're going to make it. And it made me realize, and probably the guys realize, how little help I am with things like this, because we were standing, they were trying to get the car engine working, and I was just kind of standing there like, just kind of holding the torch into the thing, like, I can't help.
At least, but I can actually share some technical car information with people that they may benefit from. Just so you all know, you cannot reattach a car radiator with electric tape. So just bear that in mind.
Surely you had rolls and rolls of black masking tape in, is that not in any, self-roading? You must have all that crap with you.
That's what we were
doing. Think so?
The problem wasn't in one place. It was the start of a chain of events that caused us to turn around and go back.
If we had actually got the car sorted, a piano would have fell from the sky. That kind of way.
Yeah. Fucking.
Did it just feel like everything was out to get you that night?
Oh yeah.
Most times.
Oh. yeah. That would have been like quite a big support gig for us as well. And I remember I stayed at Jude's house, and we both woke up in the morning, and he just goes, "Here, look at this." He shows me his phone, and it's like the photo of this really like packed, sold out crowd. And I'm like, fuck off. But the Belfast gig was awesome though. That was the redeeming fact. It was like, right, if we at least try and play this one well, and it was great. And Acid Brain were actually really, really sort of good humoured about it.
Oh, you
mean Hayes? You mean Hayes took the piss out of you? Is that what good humour means? Business as normal then.
Yeah. He told a joke. He told a joke that I'm not sure if it actually went down that well. He was like, well, it's not the first time a car from Northern Ireland's been seen going up in flames. The fucking crowd just were looking at him like,
there's no such thing as too soon with H. Yeah, that's
why I like it.
Yeah, it was good crack. It was awesome. It was just a shame that couldn't happen, but you know what? It's a good story.
So what about other gigs? Who have you kind of played with on home soil? And then you've also been you kind of come over and played a few gigs in the mainland. I think you posted on something I posted on Instagram earlier on. You've been I can't remember where it was now. Did you come over and did you do some support gigs in Trillions?
That was me and Jake played in Hellbastard for a stint, and we done 2 tours, a UK tour and a European tour, and Trillions happened to be one of the dates. An absolutely awesome venue, that.
So you weren't playing as you guys, you were playing...
Me and Jake both played in Hellbastard for 2 tours.
Okay.
Here we go.
How did that happen? How did you end up kind of falling into that gig? I told you we never stay on target.
We had a Hellbastard Bastard had 2 members leave after, I don't know if you're familiar with the Rebellion fiasco, but basically there was a pyrotechnic error where Scruff went out and breathed fire and didn't say he was going to breathe fire. So it was, a technical pyrotechnic error. And the whole gig got shut down, blah, blah, blah. And they received a lot of backlash about it. So I think 2 members quit, the bass player and the guitar player. And they were set to play in Belfast. And the promoter and me were talking back and forth. And I actually had said to Scruff, hey, if you need this Belfast gig covered, I can give you a hand, just to let you know. I can play a couple of the riffs anyway. I could learn the set. If you don't, that's all right. Which then Scruff asked me just straight on the spot if I was able to do the full tour. And he asked about a bass player too. And I says, yeah, well, I'll talk to Jake. And that's how that kind of happened. And it just went on for a while. So we ended up playing the European tour after. That was with Insurgency, who's another great band, the Lancaster band.
That was really good then. So you've were you getting pretty good sized crowds on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was like any other tour. Some gigs were more packed than others. We had 2 sold out gigs in the Euro tour, and we had 1 sold out gig in the UK tour. And they were mostly packed. There was maybe only 2 bad gigs that we ever played with Hellbastard. So the rest of them were great,
Awesome. Right, but back onto your own band and some promoting yourselves. What about the Acid Age gigs? Who else have you guys played with?
Oh, I can't even think. Yeah, we played with DRI and MDC. And that was a cool gig. That was very, very, very cool because DRI were one of my entry-level thrash bands, one of those gateway. When I was first getting into thrash, I think Thrash Zone was one of the first albums I checked out because a friend of mine had it.
Just going to say, that was actually the one and only gig we did with Eddie Bailey on vocals as well. From English Dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
From English Dogs.
It was a completely different lineup. It was like the 3 of us plus Matthew on rhythm guitar and then Anna on violin and AD on vocals. So it was a completely different thing. Like it was
extra free, like
blinking out.
It's true.
That's the thing about this whole. Me and Jake's been joking that this whole warrjazz thing is like a snobby free thought philosophy where you just basically do whatever the fuck you want as long as there's some thrash riffs in it. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, funnily enough, that kind of gets us onto the new album because in some ways that's kind of what you've done, isn't it? There's a kind of thrash core to it, but you go off kind of down lots and lots of different avenues.
Yeah, but that's just like from being a music fan. I'm not a thrash fan, I love thrash, but I'm a music fan, Funny enough, when we were actually recording that album in the studio, one of the albums we were listening to nearly every day was Dave Brubeck, the Time's Out, is it? We were listening to that album and, sort of just taking in all the sounds from different things, we're all into kind of more psychedelic and jazz stuff as well as like the most simple metal. I love D-Beat. D-Beat is another one of my favorite genres, but it couldn't be further away from like the jazz fusion stuff I listen to.
Obviously the new album's taken quite a long time. I think it's 5 years since the last release. Was that purely a mixture of, obviously last year of being in lockdown hasn't helped, but has it purely been kind of line up and moving, or it was never planned to kind of turn around album after album? It's just kind of as it comes with real life.
The last 5 years have been a bit of a journey.
The world's changed so many times.
Yeah, we've had multiple lineup changes. Encountered, people have stuff going on in their personal lives as well, and also, it's probably worth mentioning as well that I think it was like a 2 or 3 year stint we had with Hell Bastard. That was in the middle of it. So, we've been pretty busy on and off in between bands, but Acid Age has always been like this constant thing going on. Me and Jude also have been playing in a death metal band from over here called Putrefy, so that was another thing. So,
Aaron also played in Zlatanara.
Yeah, Zlatanara as well.
So we all had other stuff going on, but
so lots of distractions.
Yeah. But I think it was just one of those things where, you have a lineup change and then maybe we add a member, or we change a member. I mean, I'm joking about warrjazz. Like, we would have no problem just adding a horn section into the band full time.
Yeah.
But just with adding and changing and up and down in the size of the lineup and stuff, you have to rewrite a lot of the songs for the album, and then we were changing, then someone would leave. But what we have now is a really, really solid version of the band that's been consistent throughout all the lineups, that just doesn't break down unless we're on our way to support Acid Age.
Nice segue.
So can you still do, will you still do that? Will you do you think you'll ebb and flow around you three as the kind of the core trio? Will you, bring an electric lutist in to do the riffs, or, kind of throwing some of the things into the mix?
Yeah,
maybe only as like guests now.
Yeah.
I think anyway, I would certainly have anyone guest on a song or whatever, but I wouldn't bother with overcomplicating it. Need to bring 5 cars to the gig tonight because our band has.
They'll never all make it.
Yeah. So it's just.
Go ahead. No, go on. Sorry.
So it's just one of those things. The world's changed so many times, with pandemics and lineup changes. I mean, I got married in the middle of the production and mastering of the album and everything. So obviously that was, a weekend where the guys weren't practicing and I wasn't practicing. We were getting drunk, like just stupid wee things come in and interfere. But
just like practice then.
Yeah. That was supposed to be a gig as well for us, wasn't it? The wedding.
Yeah.
But
we were nearly going to play my wedding. I just wanted to see my wife's mother's face in total shock.
As you played the bridal march in kind of with big riffs through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And blast beats at 220 BPM.
Yeah, this is the first dance, but I'm on stage. Yeah.
And you know what? It's probably for the best we didn't play. It's probably for the best we didn't play, because if you look at any photos of us from that night, like, Jesus.
The whole thing was sideways.
Yeah. You'll be looking back in 30 years' time and be like, so, Dad, who are these people at your wedding? Oh, they were the band. Don't worry about it. So, album came out last week. How's it been received?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, to be honest. I was like, I understand, like, it's quite an ambitious piece of work for us, just in terms of the whole level of musicianship and composition overall from our last release. So we've changed a lot, as people and as musicians, and as well as the lineup changes. So, it was... Yeah, we were going on to like a completely different chapter with the music, I suppose. So, yeah, I was sort of nervous to see, how people would take it. But it's been mostly really great. I mean, people seem to be digging it. And it's honest music. It's music based on what we enjoy, whether it's in thrash or metal in general. So we're exploring different areas that are, I suppose, unorthodox and weird for people to hear. But yeah, it's just been really uplifting to see people actually enjoy that, and they're getting a few hours out of the album.
Was that kind of at the back of your mind though? Is like, we've gone a bit off piste here, boys. This could end up kind of blowing back in our face, and everyone hates us.
Well, I would say if you listen to our if you've ever heard like a runaway combine harvester in a field full of crippled rabbits release, I would say that it was more straightforward thrash, razor worship, for fans of like Whiplash, and kind of more underground US thrash, Canadian thrash, that kind of thing. But definitely this one, like once we started adding the fucking drum solo, for example, then we were like, you know what, this is going to go over some people. They're not going to like it, but I can actually tell you this, and I think this is really cool. After 1 week, this is either really good or really bad, right? But after 1 week of the release, it's already, according to our Bandcamp analytics, the best-selling release in the history of the band from our Bandcamp. So I guess that it's
your work here is done.
Yeah, that's it. So it has sold 3 copies. My mum bought it, Jake's mum bought it, and Aaron's mum bought it.
Yeah.
No, so that must give you plenty of positivity, really. You kind of you've kind of gone out on the limb, and you didn't want to be the Northern Irish version of Ultraviolence that everyone hates now because they're not thrash anymore. But you kind of push yourselves, but I guess still remained anchored to the genre that you've always done.
Well, listen, it's analog recorded. It's got a big guitar sound. It's got a heavy bass sound. It's got lots of skank beats. It's got D beats. It's got blast beats. It's got jazzy beats, So if you're into like stupidly fast metal, I would still say we're a thrash band. The warrjazz thing's great fun. But like any thrash fan should be able to listen to it and at least understand it, Not necessarily, they mightn't like it or whatever, but we've had mostly good feedback, and we've had a few people just saying that they were a bit disappointed. They wanted something more akin to the last release, But we've tried to sort of find our own wee personal identity, just with the way that we write and compose, and even the structures of some songs aren't exactly conventional, So we're just having fun.
So, it's. I wrote it down. Is it a concept album? When was it planned to be a concept album from the outset? I guess the songs are all linked, but is there a story kind of woven through it?
Yeah, it's one story. It's the story of Nero, the emperor, the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty from ancient Rome. And it's the story of his life, but the first 4 songs are kind of how he's sort of famous for being a menace and not giving a fuck, and kind of living like a rock star when he should have been in the Senate sorting out Rome, and he was away getting blocked and going to races and having orgies and all this rock star stuff, He was kind of like David Lee Roth, I suppose. But what we've kind of focused on is a wee bit of his childhood in the first 4 songs, where it's talking about his mother, who sort of calculated everything because she wanted to actually govern Rome, and she sort of had put him in place and had married her uncle and everything so that he could eventually take over, and she could manipulate him to have Rome the way she wanted. So we look at that, and then right up through his adult life and all his crimes and stuff,
So where did all that come from? Is that kind of just something that interests you, or was this you, Jude? Were you kind of the main concept originator for all this stuff?
Yeah.
I kind of say so.
Everyone else who didn't choose it, take one pace back. That was a quick selection for Jude.
Yeah, I kind of go through phases. Yeah. I go through phases, and that particular phase, I must have been reading about Rome and watching documentaries and that. I was feeling historical.
Yeah, we all agreed on it, but I think it was Jude's idea.
He was in the driving seat.
Yeah, he wrote it all, as far as I know.
Yeah, it was cool though, because it's something different, I suppose. There's a story there, and there's it's cool to be able to kind of write music that's going to be sounding like it's coming from this different person that you're writing about, as it gives I think it gives the album a bit of character there, and also the story is quite interesting about Nero's life and how he was he was a massive cunt, basically. And I think
Still
that,
like David Lee Roth.
I think the story lends itself well to the music. It's interesting, I guess.
Lots of.
How do you? Sorry, mate.
I was just gonna say lots of darkness and evil and metal shit.
Are you? What's the plan going forward when you kind of gig this? Are you gonna play? Are you going to play a load of them in order, or are you going? Do they all kind of sit in your head? Do they all kind of sit nicely as standalone tracks? So you don't need you don't need that flow through the kind of the timeline.
Purely from an artistic standpoint, and I know I sound like a wanker here. I'm so sorry, but I would much prefer it if people, when they were listening to it, I don't think it's the kind of album you can just pick a track and then go, oh, I get it, and then skip through. I think you actually have to sit down with it and put headphones on in a dark room and just really, really listen to every bit of the album. It's a slow burner, I would say. So a lot of the best-selling jazz albums are slow burners, so I think it's kind of more akin to that than a thrash album. It's not like, say, Rain and Blood that just opens up with the Angel of Death and punches you in the face and goes for 28 minutes. It's something that builds up gradually. Do
you think that's a little bit of a risk? Obviously, if people are, Spotifying or anything else, and it just comes up in shuffle, that it's out of context.
It's absolutely the worst time to do what we done. Make no mistake. We're actually living in an age where you can just go get the absolute best recorded music video. 3 minutes, here's an awesome thrash band on YouTube, and you can have billions of them, So what we've actually done is make a slow burner album, which was either kind of unique or totally fucking stupid, So
which one are we going for?
It's only been 1 week. Well, it's been 1 week, so we'll see.
So obviously you kind of said a few people kind of complained that you didn't do the same as you did last time and blah blah, but those songs haven't gone from the set, I guess, that you can even though the lineup have changed, you're going to still dust off some of those Acid Age classics.
Well, we're going to do, if we have an hour set list, right, so for like a headline set list, we're going to do Semper Pessimus in its entirety, at least for the album run, because it is that concept and it's the sound of the current band and it's Aaron's first album. It's very sentimental, But if we're doing like a half hour, like a warm-up set for another band, then yeah, we'll probably do a couple of old ones. And if we ended up doing something stupid like an hour and a half or 2 hour set list, we'd mix it all up, So we're not stuck for options, basically.
Thing is, though, I mean, we have played songs from it live, before the lockdown, before it came out, and standalone, and people seem to still enjoy them, like Slave Girl and songs like that, especially, seem to go down.
Yeah, I was going to say, Slave Girl's, is a standout on its own, isn't it? If there was a single on there, that's probably the one.
Yeah,
it's the top of the pops.
That's it. We can all do our best noddy holder dancing, and that works perfectly.
Yeah.
But another one that's actually a short banger that I think would be a great, if you like, single is actually the last track of the album, What an Artist Dies of Me reprise, but it's a reprise of track 2. So you won't get the full concept of the song, at least without the first half of it. But as a standalone track musically, I think it's probably the most thrash song on the album.
And, let's be honest, when we're at a gig, most people aren't paying enough attention to, get the concept out of it. It's hard when you're upside down on the crowd to work out that, that was a continuation of track. It's more, are you going to puke up before you smash yourself over the barrier?
Yeah, more or less.
I definitely think in a live sense, I think the songs all have their own kind of identity and vibe there. So I think they all, on their own, I think as songs, I think they all sound, good, and they can be mixed up. And they, we've, as Aaron was saying, we've mixed them in as kind of just to feel out how they're going to go down with live audiences. And we've mixed them in with our old songs, and yeah, there's a nice flow there. You get a fusion-y technical kind of prog thrash song, and next you get, you know, just a 2-minute blast beat tune, and you know, that's just how our sets go. I guess there's peaks and valleys there.
We
keeps people interested.
We do play them about twice as fast as well, which helps. We're playing them live.
Is that on purpose, Aaron, or are you just not very good at keeping time when you're on stage? You get a little bit excited.
I'm just a deck. I like to see them struggling, you know.
Wait to see when Jude starts throwing things at you to slow down. Yeah.
He likes watching us dance.
I would encourage him to speed up. I'm a deckhead.
So kind of in some ways you've released this at kind of just the right time. It seems like, you know, the country's slowly crawling out of its cocoon that we've been in for a year. Are you hoping to get some gigs this year?
Yeah, we actually we've had a couple of offers, and it's sitting like this. If everything goes ahead as planned, we can announce it. But we actually do have stuff sitting in the pipeline that if everything opens up when it's supposed to, we can indeed go and do a gig. And we're looking at basically as soon maybe as July, August time. So I'm hopeful anyway, because there's been a good flattening of the curve, at least over here.
Yeah.
And it is looking a lot better, you know, thankfully, you know.
Yeah, so definitely.
I guess we'll see, but we're definitely going to gig it one way or another, you know. You know, I was actually joking about how, you get like underground raves, you know. There's a whole movement of people that just like rent a warehouse somewhere and just put a rave up, and it's like, God, metal's so conservative now, isn't it?
Yeah. Where's the danger? Well, all you got to do is charge whatever the entry fee is. It's got to be enough to pay the fine. So all you need to do is kind of make the 25k that the fine's needs to pay, or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and sure, if nothing else, they can have Jake's old car.
Well, yeah, it's parked somewhere between Dublin and Belfast. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll have to pick the keys up there.
There was a.
Go on, sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry. There was a just funny story from that. Actually, like that car was a ex-police car, wasn't it, Jake? That you had?
Yeah.
And like,
it's an ex-car now.
Yeah. but I was sitting in the back seat, and Jude goes, "Well, my dad said to me, if you see the front engine go up in flames, just jump right out of the car." I'm like, the fucking back doors don't open. So it'd just be me flying into the distance and blowing up.
You're not in a cage in the back or anything, were you, Aaron?
No, nothing like that. But there's
it's not quite like a meat wagon where you're you were cuffed to a pole.
It'd be like animal from the Muppets. You know, you'd have to keep him in a cage.
Aaron did have his moment of usefulness, though. It's not fair to say he was completely useless at that time. Remember the phone box, Aaron? That you kindly pointed out on the side of the motorway.
Holy fuck.
Standing on the hard shoulder trying to get signal for about half an hour, and Aaron just pointed straight to the left and goes, "Look, there's an SOS payphone."
It was so Spinal Tap, like it was just sad. Really.
I've actually never had to use an SOS payphone in my life, so it was a completely weird sight. It was an apparition of what the fuck is this?
That's all right. We didn't get the sport acid rain, but Jude got to use an SOS payphone.
Yeah, Jude go back to the 1980s and use a payphone. Yeah, that was really good.
Retro thrash.
That's it. How retro can you get? Yeah. You spoke about kind of recording. How did the recording process all work? Did you guys go into a studio and do the whole thing, or you kind of you home studioing?
All in the one studio.
At
the same time, do you kind of go in and block it out and abuse each other, or do you kind of all go in independently and do your thing?
The rhythm tracks were actually done live. So the guitar, bass, and drums were tracked as a live band in a studio.
In the same room.
In a big room, you know, which is something we're kind of really, really into, as opposed to using a click or something for the drummer and the guitar player to play along to or whatever, you know. I'm nothing against that because that's worked great for a lot of my favorite albums and a lot of my favorite bands. But we actually love to just enjoy the studio experience, and we enjoy it most personally whenever there is actually the three of us jamming. You know,
that's pretty lo-fi then, really, compared to a lot of what, as you say, a lot of what other bands are doing, you know, that don't even see each other in the studio half the time, or, you know, maybe one member's there for the whole thing and then everyone else is kind of going through and doing their bits.
We've got the gang mentality when it comes to the studio, you know, we wear our colours, you know. But it was all recorded. It was all recorded analog on 2-inch tape. So we wanted to have, even though it's kind of a progressive, or we think it's a progressive sounding thrash album with lots of different influences and stuff, we also wanted to have kind of like an old school feel where, you know, you have that lovely analog warmth that you hear on any big thrash album. Like, you know, Master of Puppets is a great example because there's a lovely warm production sound in that album. So we wanted to do it that way, but we done basically all the rhythm tracks are tracked live, and then there's overdubs added, you know, vocals, solos, whatever else.
But kind of, I guess by doing it that way, it means playing it live's a little bit easier. You know, you're not going to do something really daft that you can't then recreate. Especially for you, Jude, I guess, if you're trying to sing and bang a solo in and, you know, keep everything else down at the same time. That's you can, if you're doing it at separate times, you can overcomplicate things for yourself.
Yeah, I guess so. But we didn't even think of it like that. We just wanted to enjoy the experience. You know, it was Aaron's first album, as we've said, and, you know, it was a first album for the three of us together, and we just wanted to really, it comes down to just wanting to enjoy the experience. So it was us live and then just overdub it old school, the way all my favorite albums were done that way.
And
already said that one of my gateway albums was the first Van Halen album, and it was recorded the exact same way.
Speaking of the first Van Halen album, I think you've seen this, dude. We didn't use any time correction or sort of quantizing or anything like that. You know, like keeping everything in the, like pulling beats around, keeping them in time with each other. And so it's all very much kind of played. What you hear is what we did, if you know what I mean. If it's a wee bit out of time, that's just the way it is. And
so there's no dropping in repeated loops so they're the same every time or any sort of trickery like that.
Or moving the kick drum so that it's right on the measure of each bar.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. And like there was a video put up. That's what I was saying. I think Jude's seen it, where it's this guy time corrected Van Halen running with the devil. So the video, he time corrects Van Halen. Yeah. And if you look at that, it's running with the devil. If you look at that with a click track, it's actually kind of out of time. But you'd never actually think that. You'd never actually think it listening to it, the actual original version. But he does this sort of, you know, time correcting everything, moving all the, quantizing all the beats and everything. Like completely fucks it up, like, you know. Like seriously.
Does it sound like a different song, or just not the song you know?
It sounds like it just takes a lot of the groove and the swing and just the feeling out of it, you know. And that's what a lot of.
I think something great about the album not being to a click is basically just how you can't really replicate the chemistry and energy of people playing together in a room.
It's what we saw.
The energy's there. You can get a sense of the communication between the three of us and how we feel. It feels like we're playing at you more than you listening to recorded music. And I think the problem is, like, you know, everything being to a click these days is, I think it takes that away from a lot of bands. And I wish more bands would do it, because it'd be great. Because I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I understand practicing to a click, but when it comes to recording, I think it should purely come from you, and, you know, don't put your self-expression into some kind of grid, you know.
Especially
immortalize it properly.
Especially you two at the back end, you know, holding down that groove. That interaction between the bass and the drums is really important, especially in thrash.
Yeah, I think half the magic is that it is out of time.
Yeah, yeah. That's the only thing. I had to put up with my timekeeping, which we've discussed.
Yeah. Why is that weird time signature there? It wasn't meant to be. Aaron fucked it up, but we kind of lived with it, and it's all good. Yeah,
there probably is some of that.
Yeah, but the main thing is that it is the sound of the band live that you're actually hearing. You know.
Yeah.
And it does feel like a live band, even right down to the guitar tone and everything.
Yeah, it's
not to say that it sounds, it's actually produced as if it's Acid Age playing, and that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Yeah,
in terms of the production and the energy and everything.
There's there's no drum replacement. Like sometimes in like records these days that you record the drums, but they'll replace the actual sound with like a pre-existing snare drum, if you know what I mean. So
they'll go on to cool drums and find a nice one.
Yeah. So
you can just like download friggin' Tommy Lee's drum kit on a VST and just have that as your sound.
Yeah. It's actual real. It's the real sound of what we were doing on all the instruments, you know.
Yeah. So everything was properly mic'd up. Mic your drums, and that's the sound that ended up on the tape.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now I am going to say this: we're not like some kind of analog or die type fucking cult thrash band or whatever. You know? It's not that at all. Because as I've said, like I love a lot of digital albums, and you know what? There's two things that can't be argued. One is it's a lot easier because you don't have to have all the band together and blah blah blah, and the other thing is it's a lot fucking cheaper too.
Oh yeah.
So I can totally understand and relate, and I do love a lot of albums done that way. So it's not like some kind of like cliche or thing that we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just about enjoying the recording process, as I said.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not a statement of you should do it this way. It's just the way you guys prefer to do it, and ends up with the sound you guys enjoy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no like elitism or anything like that. I'm not trying to come across that way. Like, you know, it's just a kind of cool thing about it that's maybe a wee bit different, you know.
Sure. It'd be hypocritical of us to say that we're completely against digital recording. I mean, our whole fucking back catalogue. Our whole back catalogue pretty much is digital.
Like everything else we've done has been digital. You know, we give this a go this time, and you know.
It sounds like you enjoyed the experience. So, is that going to be something you'll repeat, kind of in the future?
I hope so.
I think that's something we'll talk about.
No,
we don't.
I definitely much prefer recording. Look, recording the click track. Any guitar player in the world that says it's anything but tedious is a fucking liar. You know, it really is a horrible. Just sit and listen to you know, it's really, really annoying, and especially if you're playing along the thrash or something where it's like, you know?
It's like when the Space Invader gets lower and lower on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I much prefer this way, where we actually just went in together and done it. And whether or not we do the next one analog or digital, I would like to imagine that we're actually playing live regardless.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, like the analog part is, you know, I don't know, but the thing about, you know, not using a click and all that stuff and playing live, I think I would like to stick to those kind of principles, probably, you know. But
hey, we found a gimmick.
Shitty.
It's the best-selling album you've ever done. Don't fuck it up now. Yeah. So on that note, kind of, you've talked about hopefully getting some tours in. What is next for you guys? What else do you want to do? You know, is it another 5 years till the next album, or are you kind of have you got kind of little ideas kind of sparked in your brain? What are you reading at the minute, Jude? Because that's what we'll end up with.
Actually, I'm reading a thing about nuclear war, so it could be a more generic thrash album.
I was going to say nothing says thrash more than a nuclear war song.
Yeah, I've been reading about Bikini Atoll a lot lately, and I'm enjoying that. But I would say it's too soon for us to say how long it's going to be to the next album, because we're still only enjoying this one, you know. But that's not to say we actually had, before this lockdown, we actually had a couple of other ideas and nearly a full song composed and everything. So like, we're not stuck for material. And music and style wise, I would say the next one will be more similar to Semper Pessimus than say Combine Harvester. But we'll see. I mean, it's just too early to say. But if either of you two guys want to weigh in, and any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully it won't be 5 years, but you know, we
never know.
We can't really put a time expectancy on it. But yeah, definitely just back up what Jude said there. I mean, it'll be the essence of what's on Semper Pessimus. It'll just have its own vibe depending on what the song's about, depending on what we want to write, what styles of music we want to incorporate. So it'll be the same but different.
Yeah,
it's
just
pretty much
growing and maturing from where you are today.
Yeah, just pretty much just maturing our own style.
Yeah. Add another couple of years of experience under the 18.
Yeah, another couple of breakdowns on the motorway, you know, all that sort of stuff.
The other thing that I think, I know this sounds like a weird thing to come out with maybe, but one thing that I think is important to a musician's individual development is just the way, you know, I'm trying to word this, but you know the way some people maybe say things like, oh, why can't Exodus write another album like Bonded by Blood or something, you know? You know how many times every atom in Gary Holt's body has changed since he wrote Bonded by Blood, you know? Like, he's not the same person at all. You know, his taste maybe evolved, his change, his tone, his touch, everything, the DNA in his fingers, the sweat that comes out of his hands, everything about the guy now is different. So you do progress and grow as an individual musician, and your tone actually does come a lot down to your touch, the touch you have with the instrument. And as you get older, maybe you get fatter, your bone shape changes, everything, you know. So I think that's kind of relevant to why bands progress and change and maybe fuck up or fix things or whatever.
Yeah, like if you go back and if you listen to the first Acid Age, like Enter the Zomborg, would you ever imagine this would be what we'd be talking about, like, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah. You know, you were kind of you were the kind of potentially going down the kind of lawnmower death and, you know, that side of life. It was, you know, party thrash.
My favorite negative review that Acid Age ever got for the early material, I can't remember which album it was, but someone referred to us as Metal Duck B-sides.
Metal Duck?
Metal Duck.
Metal Duck.
I don't even know who that is.
Was it like a Lawnmower Death and Acid Rain collage?
Yeah, they did a Lawnmower Death and Metal Duck did a split LP, so they had kind of one side each.
Oh, right.
Before they both branched off and did their own thing. So yeah, they were kind of, that was what, 80, 87, 88 or something.
Right.
Yeah, so there you go. Early Acid Age sounds like Metal Duck B-sides, but see, for the kind of sound we were going for at the time, that's probably the biggest compliment.
I was going to say, there's no insult in that. I think they're another band that I think a lot of people would like to see come out of retirement after a 30-odd year break.
Yeah, we could open for them.
Bust out all the old tracks.
We make it there.
If anybody's listening from Lawnmower Death,
Metal Duck.
So finally, guys, do you want to pimp yourselves out? Where can people find you? Where can people pick up the album, physical merch, all that other good shit?
Okay, so the absolute best place to get it is Bandcamp, and not just for Acid Age. I think for fucking anything. If you're not on Bandcamp, you should have Bandcamp, because it's a fantastic way to find, you know, all the best of the best bands in the world right now. It doesn't even have to be metal. You can listen to anything on Bandcamp, you know. And I like the community aspect of it, because you can also, bands can recommend other bands, you know, and they've got the recommendations section and everything. So I think it's really, really, really good site. So if you're looking to buy any physical from us, it'll only be sold from Bandcamp until something changes. In regards to everything else, I would say if you want to stream or whatever, it's on all the usual platforms. So you can stream it on Spotify or YouTube or Deezer or freaking music by Twitch, whatever you want. Soundtrack by Twitch, sorry. So you've got all these other avenues, you know, but it's available everywhere that you can listen to music, basically.
Perfect. And your socials? Acid Age, just about everywhere, I think, honey.
Yeah, it's usually at Acid Age Thrash everywhere. So you, just anywhere that you want to go. I actually really, really enjoy it. I was going to say this. I was going to make a point of saying this. I actually really like your Instagram. You know, so I would keep a lot of what the whole UK Thrashers thing is doing on Instagram. So we're the same. We're also on Instagram. So if anyone likes UK Thrashers on Instagram, come on over and say hello to us. So that's Acid Age Thrash again.
Perfect, guys. Enjoy the feedback from the new album. Hopefully, you guys will get on stage again very soon, especially if the car stays in one piece long enough to get you there. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I've really, really enjoyed it, man. Thank you very much.
From their brand new album, Semper Pessimus, this is Acid Age and Slave Girl. hope you got your warrjazz onto that. That was from the brand new Acid Age album, Semper Pessimus, available from the Guide Bandcamp page. Thank you to them for spending a fucking hour of their life that they'll never get back with us. Next up, more black and thrash from Belfast. This is from their Where Darkness Dwells 2017 album. This is Scimitar and Behead the Beast.
Travel too far to be at the beast. We need it to get a nuclear east. We'll go over days, quest the thirst. Around the glow of lifted blast. See red blast, sweat built up. Fear awaits on my return. Hanging, smashing and fading away. Travel too far for it to play. Hanging, smashing and fading away. Never gonna see the end of the day. Hanging, smashing and fading away. Travel too far for it to play. Hanging, smashing and fading away. Never gonna see the end of the day. Behead the beast. Nuclear release upon us to be the first and grips. Eyes of pain, gaze of brazen, walls of pain, run to the depth. I wonder if I'll make it back again. Oh, I keep smashing and fading away. Growing too far for it to pay. I keep smashing and fading away. Never gonna see the end of the days. I keep smashing and fading away. Growing too far for it to pay. I keep smashing and fading away. Never gonna see the end of the day. Behead the beast.
Okay, that's it. We're coming to the end of the show. Thank you, as always, to the bands that let us use their music. Thank you to Acid Age for joining us in the studio. And, of course, thanks to you guys for listening. Okay, to finish off the show, we're going to play a track by Sadistic Force. This features on their combined EP, First Strike, that's out from our friends in Mercenary Press. They're going to be joining us in the studio on Wednesday for our UK Thrashers Guide to. So come along and listen to how you go about creating your own label. Here we go. $1 Billion Sadist. Thanks for listening.
I used to be such a welfare stoner. I used to be such a twilight zoner. I used to be such a money-mugging loser. But now that I'm worldwide, you know that I made it. I want it all, I'm $1 billion sadist. $1 billion sadist. What do you want? What do you want for nothing, baby? What do you want? What do you want for free? Do you want to need sadistic action, baby? I'll force you to trade.